People must stop saying that the future of Nigeria is in the hands of the judiciary. I don't like this statement, and because it is simply not true. Nigerians must stop saying it. The future of Nigeria is not in the hands of the judiciary. Yes, all eyes on the judiciary. The judiciary should do the right thing. Now the question is, what exactly is the right thing? The judiciary must understand that it is their responsibility to defend the sovereignty of Nigeria, to defend rule of law, to defend the constitution of Nigeria. A few people cannot band together, gather themselves, and constitute themselves to be above the law, and then the judiciary ratifies it. We saw what happened in Lagos, what Tinubu did, where things that are supposed to be illegal and immoral were made legal because you have a group of people across the executives and across the legislature coming together to make what should be illegal and immoral to be right. Perhaps those kind of arrangements are in place right now, but nobody should say that the future of Nigeria depends on the judiciary. The judiciary, they say, is the last hope of the common man. But on this matter of the presidential elections petitions, the judiciary is not the last hope of the common man. The judiciary must understand that while all Nigerians are looking up to it to stand tall and defend justice and defend the rule of law and defend democracy, the people understand that sovereignty and ultimate power rests with the people. So if the judiciary fails, we have a last resort, and that will be protest. Protest to defend the constitution, protest to defend the sovereignty of Nigeria. Sovereignty that is under attack by IMF and World Bank backed legislature and politicians. We understand that the IMF and the World Bank have deep pockets, and these deep pockets are being used to buy up some politicians, to use them to dissolve the sovereignty of Nigeria. Well, we have news for you. While you may feel that you are entitled to your opinion and that you can use the power of state that have been relinquished to you by the people and by the constitution, while you feel that you can use that power, being pulled or being driven or being guided behind the scene by the World Bank to make the Nigerian states, to make the Nigerian citizen suffer, we will tell you that we, the people of Nigeria, we have a last resort. The judiciary is not the last resort. From what we see, the tendency is there that the judiciary will dance to the tune of the executives. The judiciary will try to pull a wool over the eyes of Nigerians. If the judiciary does that and does anything that is short of justice, the people of Nigeria have a last resort. They have a last hope, and that last hope is to protest. That last hope is to protest. The thinly veiled threat that Tinubu and his lawyers sent to the judiciary, if the judiciary caves under that threat, or caves or falls for that threat and fails to do the right thing, then the people will defend the constitution. The people will defend justice. The constitution is clear. Somebody that has been brought under a fine for any act of dishonesty whatsoever is not qualified. The constitution is clear, and that section of the constitution is not statute bound. So going to hide under 10-year statute of limitation that is spelled out in another section of the constitution for people who have cases to answer in the Code of Conduct Tribunal will be injustice. If the lawyers of Tinubu are planning to hide behind that, the judiciary should not allow them. They should stand for justice and defend the constitution of Nigeria that states clearly that anybody who has come under a sentence of fine, as Tinubu has come under a sentence of fine, anybody who has done that should be disqualified, or not should be, stands disqualified. So if we see anything that is short of this under any guise, it shows that definitely we have a situation in our hands where the constitution of Nigeria is under threat, is under attack, as we have seen that the rule of law has come under attack repeatedly by the DSS, as we have seen repeatedly supported actively or inactively, directly or indirectly by the president. When we see that the constitution and the democracy of Nigeria, the rule of law, the principle of separation of powers, the principle of checks and balances, when we see that they have come under attack, we will defend the constitution. We will defend our democracy. We will protest. So let nobody come to say that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. The buck stops at the judiciary. No. If the judiciary does injustice, if they cave in to the threats, the manipulations of the IMF and the World Bank, and they fail to do justice, and they fail to let them be seen to be doing justice, the people of Nigeria will defend themselves against any act of injustice. And the IMF and the World Bank should know, Nigerians are wiser now. All these things that you used to do behind the scenes, we know now what you're doing. We know. So if you think that you can just pick a few politicians, line their pockets with money, line their pockets with whatever, or probably blackmail some of them because you know some of their secrets, to begin to do your bidding, to punish the population and the citizens of Nigeria, and you think you will get away with it, you may have gotten away with it before. You will not get away with it anymore. The Nigerian populations are well aware now, and we will rise up. We will defend our constitution. We will defend the sovereignty of Nigeria against your manipulations, against your corporations, against your bourgeois. We will. Let nobody say that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Let nobody say that the future of Nigeria depends on the judiciary. It does not. The future of Nigeria depends on the people. We are watching. All eyes on the judiciary. We are watching. We are watching. We saw what happened at the adoption yesterday. It gives room for concern. It gives room for concern. The statements that were being made subtly, it gives room for concern. It makes me worried. It makes me concerned about how the judges are going to rule. And the judges should know that they should not cave to the threats of the executive. They should not cave to the threats of the IMF and the World Bank. They should consider the future of Nigeria. They should consider the constitution of Nigeria, the sovereignty of Nigeria, and do the right thing. That there's no precedent of a reversal of an election result at the presidential level in Nigeria should not make them fail to do the right thing. They should do the right thing. The constitution is clear on this one. Qualification section 137, subsection 1D is clear. It is not statutes bound. Every single Nigerian knows this because the constitution is written in plain English. It is only things that are contestable that you can say, we leave to the interpretation of the judiciary. This one, yes, you have the constitutional responsibility to interpret, but this is clear as day. So we await your judgment. We await that you do the right thing. We await that you defend the sovereignty and the constitution of Nigeria. We await that you respect or you defend rule of law in Nigeria. We await. We await. But Nigerians must know this. The judiciary is not the last hope of the common man. The judiciary, as we have seen, is open and is under attack. And it's up to us to also defend the judiciary against these external forces that seek to destroy our nation, that seek to destroy the fabric of democracy. Look at what the Niger coup leaders are saying about Nigeria. Look at what the South African journalists are saying about Nigeria. Even social media skit makers, look at what they're saying about Nigeria because of a flawed electoral process that brought and threw up Tinubu as president of Nigeria. Look at what they're saying to us. It's a mess. And if the judiciary will not rise up to defend the constitution and sovereignty of Nigeria against the attacks of the IMF and the World Bank, if the judiciary will not defend Nigerians against the attack of the IMF and the World Bank, putting Nigerians through untold hardship, using certain elements in power, then the Nigerian people will rise up and defend themselves through protest, which is their fundamental human right. The right of every human being on earth, not just Nigerians. We will defend ourselves, and the judiciary should know this. The executive should know this. The legislature should know this. Those few politicians that may have been pocketed by the IMF and the World Bank, who shamelessly parade themselves and make utterances that are unbecoming of public servants, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should be aware. They should know that Nigerians will defend their sovereignty. We will. We will defend our sovereignty, and it won't matter how many guns you hold. You probably will need to kill us all, because protest we will to defend the sovereignties of Nigeria and defend the rule of law, defend the constitution of Nigeria. Know it and know peace.